Welcome to Our Time. A review of our guest in this episode in the Sydney Morning Herald said, and I quote, "It is quietly terrifying to watch Glyn begin his new comedy show. He appears so likeable, so vulnerable and modest that an audience is immediately on the edge of their seats praying for his success. But this master of poignant comedy needs no prayers. His mime is precise, his card trick's awesome, and his comedy narrative tiptoes through potentially dangerous balance of slow pathos and laughs." That wasn't bad, Glyn Nicholas.
That wasn't bad. Too bad the show was rubbish. Didn't read that bit.
Oh, I didn't read that bit, no, because you didn't put that on your website.
No,
you only put the good bit.
Oh, that's where you got it from.
And
right.
I would do exactly the same.
Yeah, absolutely.
Glyn, we've known each other for a long time, but for a long time, I didn't know what happened to you.
Yeah, a lot of people tell me that.
Yes.
What happened to you?
What happened to you?
Well, I I didn't leave the biz, although I did stop performing for a number of years.
Well, hang on, let's go back to how people do know you. So I know you, if I can carry on a bit, as a busker in the Adelaide Mall, pulling 400 and 500 people every time you did your show.
Yep.
And then you eventually went to Here's Humphrey and worked on Humphrey.
Yep. As a direct result
made
of
much
the
less money doing TV than you did in the Rundle Mall.
That's right.
And then you suddenly popped up on national television, the big gig. You had your own show on the ABC. I'm saying this so you don't sound like you're big-headed.
Yeah, I would have skipped a bit of that, but anyway, thank you.
And worked with people like Sean McAuliffe and people like that, and you were fabulous. Well, you still are, but
thank you.
You were fabulous. But people haven't seen you much either on the telly, but they've seen you on cruise ships and all other things.
Yeah, so I took a bit of a hiatus, and that was a deliberate decision because I couldn't get any gigs. So I could be with my girls.
Yes, your family.
My family, yeah. So, and I'm...
It's funny about that because people don't think of performers having families and needing to stop and concentrate on actually being a dad.
Exactly. And that was, in some ways, well, it was mostly a good decision. But I was working sort of behind the scenes, so it meant I didn't have to go out touring and keep doing the shows and being away and blah, blah, blah. So I took to producing shows, and a couple of them have been really successful. So one of them was a play. Look, you have a cohort of 9 or 10. You can have 3 dogs.
I've said this before. I said to Michael Edgley, who was probably one of the biggest promoters in Australia, probably in Australian history.
He certainly was.
And I said, "How do you make it work, Michael?" He said, 6 out of 10. You've got to make money on 6 out of 10 or you're out the back door.
Well, I would say the stats are even not as good as that. I'd say out of the 10, you'd have 1, maybe 2 that fly. Some do okay, but there's going to be a whole bunch that will lose your house, which I've done that a couple of times.
Yes.
So,
and that's an interesting thing to say because I don't think the general public realise the risk that promoters actually have to take. Yeah. And it's a huge risk. You usually put your most valuable position on the line.
Yeah, you do, your house. I do.
Yeah. To get a loan or to get investors or to get somebody to say, yes, I'll put the money up for that. And then the audience wonder why they're asked to pay the ticket money. Well, it's like, hello, not only do all the people you're seeing have to be paid, but the poor person who put the whole thing together needs to make a bit of money so they can keep going.
Yeah, I mean, that brings up 2 points. The risk factor is the first one I'll talk about. So when we were, a friend of mine called Scott Rankin and I wrote a play called Certified Male.
And I saw that. I thought that was fabulous.
It was fabulous, and it's been produced in about 6 or 7 countries, overseas, and
actually, sorry to interrupt you, but
you're right.
Why I thought it was fabulous because it was one of the first things that showed, I thought, the vulnerability of men with humour, which is missing.
Yeah, look, I'm glad you said that because when we were writing
I really
the play,
saw it. See, I really did see it.
You did.
And I saw you in it.
Yeah.
Was Sean in it too with you?
No. No.
Who was in it?
Peter Rosethorn.
Oh, of course, Peter Rosethorn.
Yeah, and Pete was brilliant. A guy called Mark Neal and another fellow who people wouldn't know. But
his parents would.
His parents.
Yeah.
Knew, yes. And so I'm laughing at that joke for just a moment. Okay. So certified mail. I'll talk about that for a second because I want to talk about the other one, which is
yes, that's why we've got these things on the table.
But I just talk about certified mail. When we put that on, this is the risk factor. Scott and I were, before we went out to do the play, we said, and this was in regional New South Wales in a town called Orange.
Oh, yes.
We honestly said, I said, we don't know if this is going to work. This could just die. And those honest rural people in Orange, New South Wales, after the first scene, second scene, they just were into it. They got into it because it was interesting. It was a different sort of play. There was mime, there was direct address, there was dialogue, there was all kinds of stuff. And then because we didn't write it sort of to please everyone. We wrote it because the subject matter was passionate. We wrote that after I read a book called Manhood, written by Steve Biddulph, and it massively affected me, and as it did lots of men at the time. And it was a very, very powerfully and very powerful play. As you say, it was funny, but it also there were some really moments in there where the men in the audience and their wives and girlfriends were crying, and it was like beautiful. Yeah,
because we don't explore the male sensibilities enough.
No,
we're all just supposed to cope with it all, and with the Me Too movement on the other side, it's making it difficult for men to quite know what are we expected to be and do.
Well, exactly. So the play did look at that, and we'll put it on again next year because I think it's still great, a good time for it.
Very much so.
Yeah.
I couldn't agree with you more. Yeah. It's like my Men Who Dance show. It's one of those things that people don't sort of realise, hang on, men can dance.
Yeah.
So, and really dance.
And they really do. I've seen
really,
that.
Really
I've seen the video of the show. And they certainly can, those boys. The other thing that I've been doing is actually working on a show for the last, quite a while. It's an homage to the Eurovision Song Contest.
And I saw that too.
Thank you. You saw the earlier version. You saw the prototype.
I thought it was hysterical.
Yeah, here's some footage of the prototype.
Okay.
And as you can see, it's a loving homage. It's not a mean-spirited piss take. So the whole show is put together with a lot of love. That show was the biggest selling show at the Edinburgh Fringe Festival, and Cameron McIntosh got in touch with me, and he wanted to put it on in his nice, shiny theatre in London, which we did, and it toured around the UK for 20 weeks. The new product is actually a better product in terms of the content. But what we're trying to do with this show is to actually create a lot of connection in communities. So if you can imagine the show was like a framework, and in whatever region the show goes to, and this could be, in Adelaide we're doing it here obviously, but so connecting with different community groups, particularly minority cultural groups who don't normally get involved in musical theatre, and we're saying to them, look, here's an opportunity for you to be a part of this show by writing a song or designing a costume, everything that goes into creating a musical that most people think are done by the fairies, giving. So the metaphor that I use for the connection is if you've got young kids and they go to ballet school, at the end of the year there's a concert, it's always packed. And it's not because the dance...
Not because it's fabulous.
It's not because it's fabulous or they did brilliant marketing. Everyone's got a connection with what I call a heart connection with what they're seeing on stage. And we want to create that in communities. Someone has some connection with what they're seeing on stage, so they're more likely to want to come and see it. But
it's not entirely a community theatre show. There's professionals working in the show as well.
Oh yeah, it's a very professional show. Yeah. Absolutely. But this will be a professional and non-professional cast. But what I like...
and the non-professional cast, you'll pick up wherever you're going. So when you tour the show, like if you go back to Orange...
But we're not going to tour the show, that's the thing.
Aren't you?
No, because COVID smashed the model. For me, it's too risky.
Okay.
So what we would do, let's say we're going back to Orange, we would say to Orange, okay, here's the framework, we'll give you a lot of help, You work for a year
Okay.
within your community in the lead up to putting on your production.
Right, up there
We'll
for
give
thinking.
we'll give you most of the songs, but you find 4 or 5 songs locally.
Right.
And you get the council on board, you get the local dance schools, the local community theatre groups, and you can invite some professional people who have moved from Orange to Sydney. They can come back and do a gig.
Which is, I mean, when you say it like that, which is really what Eurovision is, isn't it? The actual thing.
It exactly that. It's the ethos of Eurovision. If you go back to when it first started, it was all about bringing together a war-torn Europe. So countries that were fighting one another in years gone by were invited to sort of compete, but to celebrate their differences. So different languages, different cultural customs, and so on and so forth.
And original songs.
And original songs.
Yeah. Hang on a tick. We're going to take a short break while we sing some original songs. It's up to you what you do. We'll be back in a tick. Welcome back to Our Time. Glyn Nicholas is my guest. Glyn, it's so lovely to have you on the program.
Thanks very much.
We're talking about Almost Eurovision.
Yeah, Song Contest, Almost Eurovision.
Song Contest, which now is Song Contest.
Yes, and it's called Almost
Almost.
for legal reasons.
Yes.
You wanna know
Actually, tell the story about that because it's really interesting.
Oh, yeah.
You're in the UK.
Yeah, in the UK, and this was with the prototype Eurobeat, and we were in the West End. It was about our second week, and I get a message from the head of the EBU. Now, the EBU, as you would know, is the European Broadcasting Union, and the EBU is the organisation that pretty much runs Eurovision. So it's got members in countries everywhere, you know. And I get a message saying, I need to see you. I need to meet you at breakfast at this place. And I think, oh my goodness, what have I done? So he meets with me and he said, we saw your show last night and I have come here to London with a view to closing you down for infringement of copyright and misleading your audience. And he said, but look, it's very obvious that you're not pretending to be aligned with or associated with directly. And he said, we absolutely, he had a team with him. He said, we loved the show. And I said, yeah. And I said, well, it does have Almost. He said, yeah, we get it. We get that. And then they invited us to perform at the EBU conference in Lucerne later in the summer. So we took a mini version of the show over to Lucerne and performed it for 600 delegates. And they absolutely loved. Terry Wogan was there. Terry Wogan.
Who used to voice it?
He used to voice it in the UK.
The UK, yeah.
He came up to me and said, Glyn, he said, that was grand. He said, that was grand. That's what Eurovision used to be like. Because I got him to do a little clip for the season up in Edinburgh, because we'd picked the biggest venue and I needed something. And someone said to me, look, if you won't get Terry Wogan for anything less than £10,000, even if it's just to do a minute. So I approached him. I don't even know how I got his number. And I said, look, I can't afford to pay you anything, but could you do a little clip? And what I can offer you is 6 bottles of the finest Australian wine. So he said, that's right, it'll be grand. So he did it, and he was sitting there with a little flag, doing a little talk about the show. And when the show opened, when he came up on the screen, the audience went nuts. Because they love to play the game. And this is the thing, when the audience comes in, we have volunteers holding hats full of these badges, right?
Just hold them up for the camera. You know how to do that.
Yeah, I know how to do that. So that's
wrong
Germany.
camera.
Which camera?
This one over here.
This one. So we've got lots of little flags like this, right? That one's Germany. This one's, what's this one?
Yes, now
Ireland.
Yes, yeah, perfect, kids. Yes, look in the monitor over there so you can see.
Okay,
Yes, there you
yeah.
are. There you
I don't know
are.
what I'm doing. There we go, boys and girls. There we go. Anyway.
We've all been there and done that.
Yes, we have. And we give them the badge, and they say, Germany, I don't want to be Germany, I want to be Switzerland, you know, it's not you're Germany. And so they say, really? Yeah, you can't be Greece, you're Germany. You can't choose.
So everybody becomes representing a country.
And so that's their country for the night. That's the country that they can't vote for, but they've got to support the country.
Right.
So it immediately, there's something that clicks in the psyche.
Well, it's Eurovision, isn't it? That's why there are Eurovision parties.
That's right.
No, but hang on, now you've got the clap.
Yeah, and then the clackers. These are things that are a bit noisy. So I've just ordered 12,000 of these.
Oh, good. Oh, dear.
I'm thinking big.
Yes.
So everyone in the audience gets one of those, gets a flag.
So it's an audience participation thing,
Huge. It's huge.
as well as complete entertainment.
Oh yeah, and the voting, they love the voting. And we've created a voting system that is very close. So with the real Eurovision, sometimes you have a runaway winner, which is dull, because you go, oh, I know who's going to win. But with ours, voting is accurate, so whoever gets the most votes definitely wins, and whoever gets the least votes on the night definitely comes last. But the algorithm we developed, that sounds posh, doesn't it? But we have, makes it very close.
How do we do that? On the phone?
Yeah, so you download the little app. It's not really an app, but it's a page. And then you just click on the country that you're from, click on the top 3 that you want to vote for.
Well, that saved you a few dollars, didn't it? Thank goodness for mobile phones.
Yeah.
Didn't have to have all the little doodads.
And then then it all comes up on the screen. And the voting is so close. The delivery of the final vote decides who wins. And there's 3 options before that final vote. So 3 countries could win. It's very nail-biting. And the audience love it. They go nuts.
You're doing that here in Adelaide in December.
So it opens December. The first preview's on the 18th, and it runs through January. We're hoping it'll go.
So it's a Christmas holiday.
Yeah, Christmas holiday show.
Yes, because we don't have much on over that period. The Fringe comes in after that and gobbles up everything else.
Yeah.
But to have something.
Perfect.
What a great Christmas gift.
And it's a perfect office party. You know, it's a bit like Pantos in the UK.
Yeah.
They just. You know, and it's great. The
don't
show is safe for families. A lot of the stuff goes over the heads of little kids. It's a bit cheeky, you know, but there's no language or anything like that. Nothing, you know.
Like they say, good wholesome family entertainment.
Yeah, it is, and we've created the show so that it's. I hate saying the show's great for everyone, but it is a real smiler for everyone. You know, kids like it too.
And frankly, we need that now more than ever with sort of threats of wars and things happening around the globe. We need things that are going to make us happy.
I was watching the news this morning and it's like,
frightening.
Wow. This is the kind of show that actually I think we do need to sort of encourage more, this sort of...
Well, you made the point, it was after the Second World War that this began as a way of uniting the countries. And rather than playing sport and competing in that way, we often forget that although I'm very anti competitions in show business, because it's an art form, it's not a sport, but this is both. But it really isn't a sport, it's just a fun.
Yeah, it's a cross between a sporting event, a concert, and a big cheesy snack.
Speaking of you and your cheesy snacks, how did you start in this business? You didn't have a background of performing, did you?
No, busking. Met a guy...
Before busking?
Nothing before busking.
You didn't sort of take up acting or dance classes at school or anything?
Nothing at all, no. That was nowhere near the radar.
So where did you see somebody to make you think, I can do that?
I was in the Oktoberfest in Munich, and I saw this guy called Phil.
As a traveller?
Yeah. Saw this guy called Phil playing a song on the banjo, and I've realised now, hence, that was the first live performance I'd ever seen.
Really?
Yeah. And I was 25 years old.
How amazing.
Yeah.
What were you doing to
just living in Cardiff, and we didn't have shows or anything like that. And there was never
Really?
any we just played sport and got into fights. It was a hard town, Cardiff.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I didn't know that about you, actually. I've always known you as a performer.
Yeah. I didn't do anything until I was 25 when I saw Phil, and he just mesmerised me. Then I went down to Crete, met this guy called Miller, who was a busker. He always had money, so I thought drug dealer. But no, he was a busker, and he just used to go off to the little villages and sing his songs, and he'd pretend to be homeless, and some girl would take him home.
Okay.
And he...
It's a way to see the world.
And so he taught me how to play the guitar and sing the 3 busking songs you need, Blowing in the Wind and the other two. And
That you've conveniently forgotten.
yeah, and then I said, where'd you go in Europe to make money? And he said, Germany. Turns out the place to make big money was Switzerland, which is where he went, but didn't matter.
Oh, okay, yes, well, that was sensible then.
So I went to Germany, and you probably know that I'm an introvert at heart.
Yes, you are very quiet.
Yeah, and it took me 10 days to pluck up enough courage. I used to take out the guitar, strap it on, put the guitar case down, and then look around and go, no, it's too hard, too nervous. And then finally one night I sang 3 songs, and these girls two Americans gave me 2 Deutschmarks. Doesn't sound like much now, but back then that was bugger all.
Yes.
And that was it. So I actually got paid.
So,
and
but most people have had some sort of major training, and your mime stuff has always been one of the things that people have accoladed you for.
Well, I did train with that after I started
with
busking.
Madame
Zora Shembarova, who was amazing. I learned really so much from her beyond just the mime.
You and Raymond Crowe.
And Raymond Crowe. Yeah, and so we were very lucky to have studied with her. It was 3 years we did. I was in the same class with Raymond Crowe. And she gave us so much wisdom.
Yeah, but you were old enough to know how to take it, I guess, with the experience that you'd had up till then.
Yeah.
Do you think that was, you wanted to soak up all the information?
I did, and she was hard.
Yes.
She was a taskmaster. You either loved her or hated her. There was no in between.
But if you want to achieve something in life, you need a hard taskmaster.
Like a mentor like that is like, I'm so grateful.
I think that's probably what some of our society has lost, the fact that if you want to achieve, you've got to give it 100%. There is no more than 100% really, but you've got to give it absolutely that.
Yeah, you can't be lazy.
And that's with the show. And we'll be back in a minute. Just talk a little bit more about, what's it called?
Song Contest, Almost Eurovision.
Glyn Nicholas has been my guest in this episode of Our Time, and we've talked a little bit about the show that it's about to all happen. It's all going to happen soon.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, we open December the 18th. That's the first preview.
And it's called
Song Contest Almost Eurovision.
And we're going to see in the show...
There's 11 countries, 11 contestants. It's set in Belarus, in Minsk. And Bettina Bichikokov is actually her name has been changed now to Bettina Pikmanos. She got married.
Oh, did she?
She's the host.
Okay.
And so that's the conceit of the piece. And the really great news is that Club Eurovision is playing for one show only at the Arkaba Hotel Wednesday, March 19th. Tickets are selling fast, so hop to it.
And tickets are available?
Well, you can get those through the website, the Song Contest Almost Eurovision website, or through the Arts Theatre. That's where we're playing. Here in Adelaide, in Angus Street. You just press the little button there and it'll go zoom. Get your tickets there. And fantastic show for families and also for office parties. And there's a deal we're doing with local restaurants and the Saracen's Head.
Oh, you've done everything.
We'll be doing
You've done everything you can to make it nice for people over Christmas,
easy,
to have a laugh.
Easy peasy. Have a laugh, have a drink and have fun. Yeah.
It's been lovely to talk to you again. We talked, I don't know, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, 7.
10, about 17
I think
years
you're
ago.
episode number 616, I think, of Our Time. We've been running that long.
Wow.
But it's just delightful to have been able to reconnect with you. Because you've got a genuine show business story, not that everybody has. And when can we see you again? Because you're not in the show.
I'm not in the show.
You're a producer.
I've got another show that I'm brewing, actually with Raymond Crowe, and the show's going to be called Zora. So it's a show about our studying with her and the effect it had upon us, and it'll be...
fantastic.
Yeah, very visual, lots of physical stuff, and so we're brewing that.
Excellent. Well, come back and talk to me about that.
I will.
Being two people I know really well. Glyn, good luck with the show. Just can we have some clapping and flag waving?
So there is a certain protocol when you use these, and the audit's actually really good because these save hands. Because you know when you're clapping at a show?
Yes, they
Your
get
hands
very
get
soft.
that-
Particularly if you're like me and got arthritis and you
Yeah.
just clap gently like this that makes no noise whatsoever.
And then you give them to your kids after,
And they
and
drive
then
you nuts.
absolutely mad. And you'll be thanking me forever. They will break eventually.
Oh, okay.
But it takes a bit.
It has
to
a
break
use-by
them.
date, hopefully. Glyn, congratulations for making this happen again, and I really hope it's successful for
Thank you, mate.
So until next time, with Glyn, on our time, and until then, keep yourself nice. See you soon. Bye.